So what makes a sustainable built environment? Well, our traditional three pillars of sustainability, environmental, social and economic hold true for the built environment. And of course, to be a truly sustainable solution, it has to be both social, economic and environmentally sustainable. If we have just something that's social and economic, then it would be equitable. If it's something that ticks the box in terms of environmental and economic, then it's viable, and something that ticks the box in terms of environmental and social is bearable in there. So let's look at the construction, which obviously has a big influence in terms of the built environment, because the built environment has to be constructed by man. Let's have a look in terms of the economic side of that and see if we have how that impacts us in terms of sustainability, in terms of the economic pillar of sustainability. So as I mentioned earlier, the development process or the planning process and development processes, that's the mechanism for changing our built environment. So if we want to change the built environment, we have to get permission through the planning process in there. It's a very complex process with development often uneven and volatile. So we've seen how, say, tax breaks, for example, could contribute to that. So if you get a tax break for student accommodation, then you'll see a sudden upsurge in terms of the number of student accommodation that's been developed and built, for example. So in Ireland, development has been boom prone and crisis prone in there. So we experienced much more dramatic fluctuations than the economy, which is a major problem for the construction industry, as liable for undercapacity and high costs or overcapacity and bankruptcy. And we can see this clearly from the graph here, which the data I took from the Central Statistics Office, where all those blue bars in the graph is the construction output volume percentage change per year. So running from 1980 up to last year, 2019. And we can see when it goes negative, so there's a decrease in construction volume output. When it's negative, then there's an increase in construction volume output when it comes positive, and up and down as it goes. So we can see that changes there through the cycle. And then the red line is the gross national product and change per year. We can say that that does follow similar trends to the construction. So when the construction sector is strong and is growing strong, a gross national product is fairly high as well. And that's an issue, I suppose, in terms of how well linked our construction activity is in terms of our gross national product in there. So we need to try and make this more flat. And how can we do that? How can we have a less boom and bust cycle? So as I mentioned previously, the government have a big influence over this from numerous different ways. For example, tax incentives, grant schemes, and so on. But as they are the biggest sole investor in terms of the construction, creating new built environment or upgrading the existing built environment in the country, therefore having a long-term stable plan will from spending from the government side of things will help to reduce this boom and bust cycle that happens. So what size should the construction industry be? Well, there's been an over-reliance in the construction sector in the past, which is obviously well documented. So in the Celtic Tiger years, let's say, for example, from 2000 to 2007, the average contribution of the construction industry to the GDP was 22%. And that actually reached 25% GDP in 2016. So we can see in the graph there, which is the period of 2005 to 2011, that Ireland was up there at the top in terms of the percentage spend on construction of GDP, along with Spain. And of course, Ireland and Spain were two of the countries that got hit hardest by the economic downturn. So some people would estimate that an average of about 12% spend of the GDP could be a good aim to keep it sustainable in terms of the investment in terms of construction. But we'll just touching on, I suppose, how much the government do spend on that. Well, that spend of GDP, we need that to meet the underlying demand for the economic, social, environmental infrastructure that the Irish economy produces. So, for example, between 2012 and 2016, the government committed to spending about 17 billion on the capital programme in schools, healthcare, national roads, the Luas Interconnect, so the light rail connection in Dublin, water services, social housing, and so on. That was hugely important that they committed to a relatively large spend because of the downturn in the economy to help the economy pick back up again.